actually participating today to join us on a Sunday, because always conducting on a Sunday, I feel I'm taking the personal time of all of you. But however, I think it is for a good cause and talk about very interesting things, at least with respect to this session. All the sessions are interesting, but it is a little more interesting because, especially because we have students of psychology doing their masters who will talk to us about their understanding of mediation in the backdrop of psychology, which is their field. And more than that, we have an amazing speaker, which we as members know. When I thought about psychology as a subject for mediation, I didn't look for anybody outside because I knew that nobody would do justice to the subject other than our own K.U. Srinivasan sir, who himself he does a lot of psychology trainings for the team per se, and he's the man who glues us together most of the time, if at all there is anything to be fixed among us. So I didn't have to look for anybody outside for giving to scoop out this particular area of the role of psychology in mediation. Before introducing, I will just talk 2 minutes about IMO because today in this session, I want the children to speak and the key speaker to address the issue, because for that particular subject, I think we all are students. So let me talk about IMO. International Mediation Organization is a trust formed by a few of us who are lawyers and chartered accountants and marketing consultants. We are a small group of 10 of us who started this in 2016 to promote mediation just for the passion of learning mediation as a tool for resolving disputes and to grow along with the with the what do you call it, flow. As we all know that as a generation today living in these times, we are a part of the metamorphosis of this process called mediation as a resolution technique, or the process as a process of resolving disputes, where even the legal fraternity has taken mediation very seriously, and we have come this far thanks to the entire legal fraternity around the world and in India. So now let me just give my 2 cents of my understanding of mediation, which can be generalized in this context, because whenever we read of of anything on mediation, other than the process of mediation, everything revolves around handling human minds. So we know as lawyers, a conscious understanding with a pinch of salt for us lawyers, that psychology cannot be ignored, or the subject as a subject of psychology cannot be ignored when you are trying to resolve dispute. In that, taking that understanding forward, today our topic is the mind game of mediation, and we have with us 3 amazing young minds to speak about it, who all of them are second year MSc clinical psychology students of Christ University, Bangalore. First, we have Mr. Gaurav Umesh, who will give his insights into how he understands psychology and what is the role of psychology in mediation. And from there, Rachel will take it forward to give us a little more on the interesting aspect of psychoanalysis and how it is relevant in resolving a dispute. Thirdly, we have Anne Jude. She is a very passionate, student of psychology who has got a very in-depth understanding of psychology. And she was very much interested when I told her about this particular role, and she actually took a lot of effort to take it forward from where I told her, and even reminded me about it. Thank you very much, Anna, for your effort. And As a keynote speaker, we all know none other than our Srinivasan, K.U. Srinivasan sir will uh, do the keynote address and also answer questions. It should be an interactive session. So I'm just telling all of you, whether lawyers, students, to please let it make it interesting by making it an interactive session. Over to you. I would first invite Gaurav to talk about his understanding of the subject. Gaurav, to you. Your video should be on and you should be audible. Thank you very much, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. Please excuse the construction noise that's going on in my hostel. This was me prevailing throughout the exams as well. So I hope you also can obey onto this. So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to the concept of psychology and the field and how it has contributed to various
Sorry,
aspects of.
sorry, Umesh, I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
Your time is not more than 5 minutes.
Sure, no issues. I won't take more than three,
No,
hopefully.
sorry, I should have said that earlier, but yeah.
No issues. I can keep a timer if you want.
Thank you
Sorry.
very much. No. I said let us not extend so that we are all in time. Thank you,
Sure,
Umesh.
ma'am. No issues.
Sorry to
Okay.
interrupt.
No issues. So psychology is the study of mind and human behavior. Now, a common misconception is as a psychology student or a psychologist, we can read minds. This is more of a partially true statement. We cannot definitely read minds. For example, you might be looking at me or I might be looking at you. I definitely can't know what's going on in your mind. And that's your overt behavior. But psychology also focuses on your overt behavior that is seen and observable rather than your covert behavior, which is your thoughts, which I made a small mistake over there. And so we do in psychology is we study human behavior and its relation to the socio-cultural context or any other social context, especially in terms of having conversations with people. Mediation also can, as many of you have experienced in the field, we try to negotiate and try to see how people would respond to certain social situations, what are certain demands that can be met or cannot be met in order to have a particular peaceful strategy towards a certain conflict resolution. So we look at these parameters as well. And leaving aside mediation or even in this legal context, psychology has various sub-disciplines within it. So we might have the neurosciences, which can tell us the biological basis of how our brain and nervous system functions to tell us about our thoughts, actions, feelings, and behaviors, to a subject such as social psychology, which is going to give you an insight or rather a theoretical understanding, depending on where historical events, like in terms of genocide or any other conflicts, like, for example, things that are happening in Israel, Palestine, or the Ukraine-Russia war, or even American imperialistic tendencies all over in the world. So similarly, when it especially comes to human beings, what we really see is that it's not easy for you to convince somebody of changing their belief, be it in a particular legal context or even in normal interpersonal relationships. We have to understand the core beliefs that go into the deepest understanding and why these have emerged and how ever since they were born and until right now, how strong they are held. So in terms that is influenced a lot by our thinking and other social cultural experiences that the person would be exposed to. Now, the most important thing is that there was this particular author I had spoken to called Peter Boghossian, and he's written a book called How to Have Impossible Conversations. Just to make a note of it, I hope that you will also find a copy online. Um, and he says one of the most famous insights that I could gain from the book is to garner is to that once you have a conversation with a person, have a collaborative stance. So instead of having a conflicting stance where even though you have a differing opinions, maybe in order to have a negotiative process, you can try to see how both of you can contribute to the topic and have a similar mode of behavior so that you can mirror each other. So, and thereby you set a certain standard of how a conversation can proceed. Now, moreover, when we look into, I'll just take another 1 minute. Moreover, when we look into the conversational aspects, negotiation has played a crucial role compared to other means of psychological torture, which of course, if you take espionage stories, you will try to figure it out through physical means or other psychological means. Very large geopolitical stances have had to use the process of negotiation in order to sustain peace on a national level or even on a global level, which of course takes a lot of thought processes because you don't know who exactly you're talking to or what the agenda is on the other person's mind. So hence, in order for you to negotiate, we develop some skills, for example, trying to assume what the other person would have thought about. And this is quite crucial in terms of also trying to understand the background by which the person also is from. So, for example, it's more of like saying an Indian person cannot necessarily be understood by a European person or a white man per se, unless or until he actually understands our culture. And especially India itself being diverse, we often face a lot of conflicts in terms of interpersonal issues, in terms of other identity parameters. So, usually, such core beliefs are also connected to one's identities, and certain aspects of morality have a role in this. And psychology also dives into figuring out what can contribute to peaceful negotiations. And lastly, just to close it, I just wanted to add there is much more research to be done on various aspects of communication. But as much as we say communication is key, people need to know what exactly the communication should consist of. I'll close on that note and hand it over. Thanks. Back to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hey, that was very in depth. You will be the keynote speaker for us someday. It's a lot of information. Thank you so much, Gaurav. And we move on to Richa. I'm not taking a minute more. Richa, I want your insights on this, Richa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me and letting me talk here, Fam. When you say mediation, like the first thing that comes to mind is resolving legal disputes. But obviously, mediation is much more than that. It's about resolving human conflict essentially. And if you're being real human conflict isn't just driven by like facts or evidence. It's fueled by emotions, misunderstandings, and hidden needs. So bringing psychology into this would help us navigate these dynamics. For example, take a tenant and a landlord, and they're in a heated dispute over some unpaid rent. On the surface, it may seem that it's about money, but beneath it, it might be that the landlord is feeling, disrespected about the constant payment delays, or the tenant is feeling ignored about the unresolved repair issues. So, addressing these emotions, that is, fairness for the tenant and the accountability for the landlord, turns deadlock into dialogue essentially, and psychology helps create real resolutions. So, as a psychologist, or rather, budding mental health professionals, we're trained to look beyond the obvious. So, we we are trained to manage emotional undercurrents using empathy or active listening, reframing, and conflict de-escalations. These skills really help the parties feel seen, heard, and understood, which can make all the difference while solving disputes. While lawyers are excellent advocates and problem solvers and strategists, mediation requires a little more on a different path. It requires emotional intelligence and the ability to look at the deeper side of conflicts. And so psychology isn't about replacing the legal perspective, it's more about complementing it. And that's the key, when the facts of a case are very clear and straightforward, it can still fall apart when the emotional side of it isn't addressed. While Anne and Gaurav and I might cover the basics, obviously there's so much more to explore in this field. And a very real question continues to remain. Are we truly ready to see the person beyond what's laid out? Because when understanding happens, resolutions follows. So thank you.
Okay, that was brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, I want Anna to give what she thinks about psychology and mediation. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry about having to keep my video off in a very unfortunately timed power cut. But I wanted to say that when we delve deeper into the connection between psychology and legal mediation, we uncover some very intriguing conceptual parallels between conflict and resolution, chaos and clarity. And one of the most compelling
Hello, ma'am.
concepts that came to mind for me was triangulation, which is drawn from the world of family therapy. So, family therapy essentially views the relationship between two individuals as being inherently very unstable, sort of like a seesaw that's balancing back and forth between moments of closeness and moments of distance, creating a very unsteady equilibrium. So, in order to stabilize this shifting balance, the two parties often decide to invite a third party to join their seesaw to bring in some sense of steadiness to their relationship dynamic. So, this is a phenomenon that we refer to as triangulation. And interestingly, many schools of family theory propagate the idea that triangles and not dyads are the most stable systems of relationships, which basically means that threes are better than twos. However, in the context of family therapy, when we learn about triangulation, we learn about how it can be very maladaptive. For example, imagine a mother and a father who are seated at opposite sides of a seesaw. They're embroiled in conflict. The mother decides that she wants to invite the child to join the seesaw, but the father is vehemently against it. So as a result, the child ends up sitting with the mother, forming an alliance with her, tipping the seesaw, the balance in her favor, and ultimately sidelining the father, which is not a very adaptive form of conflict resolution. But what if triangulation could be more than just a troubled step in the seesaw of relationships? So this is where I would say a legal mediator could enter the scene because they would be a neutral third party who could sit at the center of the seesaw, ensure its balance, and view both sides' stories through a very impartial lens, and help both the parties to look beyond their own emotional entanglements and help them in arriving at a more constructive and productive solution in terms of conflict resolution. A second concept that came to mind for me had to do with the art of reframing, which is a practice that we learn a lot about in terms of cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, which is a very popular form of psychotherapy that is practiced. So, reframing is sort of like putting on a new pair of glasses or a different pair of lens to basically change how we see the world. So, for example, if I had a thought that said, I failed at this task, I might not be very good at it. When I put on my reframing glasses, it would help me change that thought and look at it like this did not go as planned. So maybe it's a chance for me to learn and grow. So basically, reframing helps you change your perspective from defeat to determination. So I was thinking about how reframing might find its place in the world of legal mediation. For example, if you picture two individuals who are locked in a battle of opposing views, for example, a husband and a wife who are on the brink of divorce, enter the legal mediator who can act as a skillful guide, not only listening to both sides of the couple and their conflict, but also carefully reframing their conversation. So, what was essentially a me versus you kind of discussion becomes more of a search for common ground. So, the legal mediator would be able to change their polarizing perspectives into possibilities and spark a journey of mutual understanding. So, these two powerful concepts, both triangulation and reframing, that I spoke about, reminded me that within the arena of conflict, perspective and the presence of a steady hand, such as that of a legal mediator, can help transform discord into harmony and friction into forward motion. But these insights are very rudimentary and they're just the beginning of what I believe is a very deep and intricate connection between psychology and legal mediation. And as Risha mentioned, there is certainly much that remains to be explored. Thank you.
You very much, Anu. That was very insightful. And I mean, there is a lot of technical things which are, I think, which has come up now. I want Srini sir to just pitch in and help us lawyers understand all these things in a more structured manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amli Madam, for organizing this session. And I appreciate the students from psychology participating in this topic. Let's get into this. So here, how mediation or a mediator can effectively resolve the conflict. In general, every human being be penetrated by three types of ways it can penetrate the brain. One, by way of feelings, and two, by way of emotions, and three, by way of interaction. Like one of the student speaker just spoke about a rental, and the house owner is not happy with the rental because of not respecting the house owner properly. So here it talks about the interaction. So any conflict, if you put together in total both the humans' behavior or the way they engage, the way they perceive, the way they respond, you can for the better because we don't want to dwell into too much into psychology, and then finally we will not be even completing a half a portion of that. So let us restrict and come to the discussion point. So it can happen only in three ways: feelings, emotions, and interaction. So feeling, like if someone have got hurt with the feeling that you are not good for this, I don't like this. If someone have given some negative opinion about it, that feeling would have created him to go and create an action, most probably the negative reaction. If something is created a positive, it will be a positive reaction. If it is a positive reaction, the result is positive. Coming back on the emotion front. By way of emotions, if a, uh, uh, if the particular person is being hurt, not directly coming to the feeling, because there is all a thin layer difference between emotions and the feelings here. So if it is true that emotions, and if the person has got hurt, he will keep that in mind, and finally he will not give away, and that will also lead to a conflict. That means the negotiation doesn't happen and the conflict continue further. And the third is interaction. Interactions like talking about the respect, we call RAR, respect, acknowledge, and recognize. Every individual, if they are not given this respect properly, or have not been acknowledged, or have not been given recognition, this also will have an option to trigger a conflict. But none of the person will come and say, you didn't give respect, you didn't provide me a chair to sit, you didn't give a basic water to drink, you didn't even, when I ringed your bell 3 times, you didn't even pick up. And nowadays, even if you don't pick up the call or don't respond to the SMS, or if somebody couldn't see the blue tick mark, despite of you're in online, and creates a conflict. So this is how the humans are being wired. And when you get a party for conflict, say instead of going for a commercial dispute, assume about is a family conflict. Family conflict, the husband and the wife feels like, okay, they end up in meeting a courtroom for a divorce approach. We all think there is a certain way of possibility of some real harassment happening on. Actually, it would not been harassment at all. A simple respect which is not given to them would have created a piled up over and over and over, and clubbed with somebody would have given some thoughts. For example, if this person treats you like this is there, this is mine. Like that, there will be somebody who will be feeding him. We call sometimes these people are all thought leaders, but sometimes these also will be a thought negative creators. They also create like this. But if you do on a positive side, you can say thought leader and give them a beautiful comfort. But same set of people also can create that negative thoughts to you. So as a advocate or as a legal profession, when you engage with a divorce case, or with a husband wife who is reaching to you, you also need to do some assessment. Maybe there are a lot of assessments available. Many cases I use a certain psychometric tool to do the assessment between a husband and a wife, and finally we find out there could be very small reason. Even if they agree, both of them agree to go on their Friday to any one of the temple, that also could solve a huge problem of going to a divorce. Or if both of them agreed that one day we both will have a lunch together. We maybe husband is in one location, wife is in another location. They will say, okay, 1 month I will come to your place, another month you will come to my place. We will jointly go for a lunch. Even if you fix to that understanding, if you're able to fix to that agreement, as a lawyer, you are become more successful, because you are helping the divorce, the person who wants to apply for a divorce. You are helping them to unclutter them, and you are making them to join as a good family. So your responsibility is not just by seeing the problem by the face of it. Digest it, take time, and see from where the problem has started. So if you are able to collect this three, what emotion, what feelings, what interactions, sometime in front of a relative or a friend, your husband or either a husband or wife would have used some words which would be paining for the another spouse. And that could be one trigger reason which would have evolved. If you are able to corner that, maybe you have to make both of them to sit and tell them, please, this is what is paining him. Next time, please don't use it. Next time, please try, please avoid it, not try, please avoid it, because this is what creating a feeling. So as a lawyer, if you are able to do drill down, and as a lawyer, you may be arguing about how the case, how the law, how the legal. Here I'm saying, please keep everything separate and take a sheet of a paper and see what emotions. If the person's language is not good for that person, you could see the eyes and feel like, okay, he is not happy with this. You can see the face movement, the wrinkles, she is good or she is bad or she is not interested. And try and capture as much as data when you do a mediation work for a husband and a wife when they approach you for divorce case. I can tell you, uh, if we follow a certain principles of analyzing the reason, if in these three causes, feelings, emotions, and interactions, we could at least solve 80% of the divorce cases at that level itself, because they all need somebody to vouch. They both can actually reach a psychologist, but they are really scared because the psychologist can actually pinpoint the problem, and that pointing out the problem might hurt them. So they find an easy way or the another way where they feel like you are standing next to them as a bat, and though they will reach out to you. But if you do this certain practices, I think we'll be able to help a person in the family conflict also. And being a psychology student, I will request you to ask more questions related to this so that we can ponder upon and come to the conclusion, or I can guide the right perspective. Yeah, Rachel, Gaurav, yeah.
Gaurav, go ahead. If you have a question, you can ask. You have something.
My question in this context is that in the context of divorce very specifically, and when a child is involved, uh, it's very hard for both the parents because both of them would want either custody or so in that sense. Now, after evaluation to see that either parent would be fit, how does the court approach the child in terms of seeing how to I'm just trying to formulate this in my head, how the court approach the child to make a decision of rather being a mediator between both of these parents who are going for a divorce. I
Yes,
don't know if I got my
this is
question
a
correct,
this
but
is a very
No,
interesting.
madam will respond.
This is a
okay,
very
sure.
interesting question. Even I have a tit for tat question. I have this issue of understanding the psychologist's point of view and the lawyer's point of view. In my thought, psychologists have, I mean, I was just telling that to Anu yesterday. The psychologist is like a poet. Okay, you can write whatever you want, you can scribble whatever you want. It is like mostly you're working with emotions most of the time. But when it comes to lawyers, we are trying to work within the framework of a system. Okay, even in mediation, that would be the effort, that you have to work it within. Definitely emotions are important, so how much you give in, to what extent you should give in, and what how much you have to let go, is a very interesting balance. So now this degree of your expertise as to how much you can cave in and how much better you can bounce back into the four corners or four walls of the legal framework is what is even it's that's what mediation is all about. Now, your specific question is with respect to court proceedings. That's a very interesting question. That is why I'm saying that's exactly the point. When you're a psychologist, you don't have to think what is the legal consequences of the whole thing. You're just working with a person's emotional tanglements or entanglements. So you just have to keep removing that note and move for here. You're not looking towards any resolution. In the interpersonal relationship, resolutions are, you don't deal with it. Whereas in a legal platform, we think about the outcome most of the time. But this mediation, there are two, three, I mean, there are much better experts in mediation here. Anybody can answer that question. I can see Vijay Kumari sir, I can see Javed sir. There are a lot of people who are experts in this area. I can see Shiva. So now that balance is the whole thing. I mean, that's where because you're in a mediation scenario, because you're a psychologist, your ability to play with that particular, handling emotions, and also to come and bounce back into the system, will be better if you train yourself better. I mean, here, that is where training has got a lot of importance in the mediation scenario, because if you train yourself, there is a set of at least rules or patterns or process that you have to follow in a mediation. But as a psychologist, if you're able to train yourself to become a mediator and a psychologist, then it will be easier for you, better than a lawyer, to be honest, to give results. Okay, both individualistic as well as collective is my understanding. I mean, I just want more, answers to that if somebody else want to put their 2 cents, if my understanding is right at all. So to you, I didn't answer again your question. In a courtroom, when a child's emotions are at bay or are at stake, the judges normally take the efforts to call the parties to the chamber and hear them out without, hear the child out without seeing, without considering, or without giving room to the parents' position. Okay, position, the child's needs or child's, they always try to understand. But again, it is all very, the dynamics change every other time, because sometimes the child is with the mom, so the child mostly speak, like as Anne was saying, for the mom or as an advocate of the mom. And if the child is with the father, he'll talk like an advocate of the father. So it's all, these dynamics are very, very different. And yes, as psychologists, I understand we lawyers also are trying to equip us with these skills. That's why we call you. And actually, we are very selfish to call all of you and get some little bit of knowledge from you, so that we also hone our skills well. But your takeaway is that if you this is a good area for you to explore, I mean, we need a lot of psychology uh, experts or people who understand human emotions better, which could help mediation, the process of the whole idea itself, a successful one. Yeah. So I think any more. I want all of you to ask questions, or if Srini sir, if you're not finished on it, I want you to carry on. Sorry.
No, we can, this will be like more of a question session. We can start asking questions relevant to the subject. We can give them inputs.
So,
So-
Anna and Rishal, yeah.
okay, Risha, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yes.
No, I just wanted to ask because right now I'm really interested in this. So and we're doing our masters. So after this, how would I come into this field? Is the question.
Which field? To legal profession of being a mediator?
Yeah.
Okay. From a psychology point of view, I will tell you, my one piece of advice is please continue your psychology. Okay. And whenever required, let's come and give our knowledge to the legal fraternity. Okay. Let's be in our role. And uh, it is not a wrong to me, I'm saying it's a beautiful one. The legal profession, I love it. Okay. But let's stick to us. And whenever subject matter experts or handling different people or identifying a type of personality and coping that personality with as a family and finally finding a solution, you please sit down with the legal person and give them the framework of executing and finding a common solution rather than you are wearing the black coat and getting into the courtroom. That's one piece of advice. Okay, not to harm you.
Then people like you should call us more often on these talks.
Yeah, this is what I'm telling. See, the more if you're able to give a quick and easy way to categorize, like how we call MBTI, Thompson, 16 personality, has a lot of assessment in Holland. If you're able to break it down and make a small 3 or 4 type, and if you're able to say, please fix this person, this type of responsibility, this type of behavior, this type of trait, and if you're able to come with some model or a template, which the legal people's person should feel it's very easy to quickly judge or put into that particular what do you call bucket. That way, guide the legal people. Okay. So if you feel this particular husband and wife has come for issue, rather than blindly saying this husband's family is so much investment, they have funding, and they have so much of asset, and this side wife is having this much asset, and they belong to this type of elite family. Instead of fighting with that level, get into the down of assessment and what makes them to do it. This, what makes them to come to this conclusion is only this three. Nothing in this world more than three: emotions, feelings, and interaction. This three alone have made the person to come here. So work on this three. For example, if an advocate Amli madam is calling you and saying, "Hey, can you please come with me for a critical divorce case?" You can say, "Yes, madam, I'll be with you, sitting next to you in terms of observing." And you will finally observe and say, "Here, this woman is expecting respect that the husband is not giving. And this husband is actually expecting recognition for being a husband. I'm earning, but you are not respecting." And the another way, this husband is feeling you are not acknowledging my kids having this much. So if you're able to point out all these three, and that is what is helping the legal fraternity. Fine, be with them and be an observer, give the input, and enjoy of being with your legal team also. But don't jump into them.
That actually
Assume if
makes
it
a
is
lot of sense. Yeah.
assume if it is a legal, it's a commercial dispute. Say one company is filing a case against another company because of a trademark issue or because of infringement of some of the practices. Fine. When you sit with both the people, you'll understand what makes them to fight. Is it because of this person's market share is growing? Because of this person revenue is being taken away by being a low cost barrier? Because of that, he's filing a case. If you're able to deep dive, and that way, we may not be only a psychology, we have to apply certain of business analysis onto it and able to grasp that because of this particular revenue contribution, this company is filing a case against him. Because of this type of publicity, it made this company to get a negative impact, because of which he is having a dispute with this company. To that extent, we should help the legal fraternity and the law. Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. That makes
Anybody?
a lot
Yeah.
of sense, actually.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, I have a question to the psychology students who are sitting here also, and also to you, Srinivasan sir. Do you think this lawyer's costume, is a mind block when you're sitting for mediation?
Sorry, I didn't get you. Your voice.
Lawyer's costume, that's black and white, at
Oh.
least with a coat and a band, is a roadblock for opening up people's minds. I mean, what do you really, have you thought about it? Is it a sign of authority, or is it okay? I mean, sometimes I feel even when you're sitting as a mediator, when you go there, even I feel that removing that black from your body and gelling like one among them makes it more easier. Is it so?
No.
Is
No.
it so? I mean, I don't know whether anybody thinks like that. So there are few psychologists. I thought, what do you think? Whether costume and how to being
Costume is different. Your dress code is different. Your dress code is required. You have to be in the dress code. And both party, when they reach out to you, that your dress code matters a lot for them to take a right decision or for them to come to some conclusion. So your dress code is absolutely required. And in case if you're talking about meeting a casual and discussion with husband wife somewhere for some other causes where you don't have the option to be in your dress code, you can be in a casual dress code. But if you are in that domain of doing a mediation service center in that center, you are required to have your dress code. Dress code plays a vital role. For example, since if it starts with the dress code, we had about some 3 4 years back, we were discussing about what will happen if a policeman removes the khaki and start wearing a pinky uniform.
Here we
And
are not talking about a policeman. I'm talking about a mediation table. No,
yeah,
you're not on a
so the dress code is yeah. So here is dress code is important. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Your dress code is absolutely important.
does it make a difference to the parties who is there to talk? How 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 your demeanor is, or how you are, you know, we being one among them, or maybe like a neighbor who is available to talk. Does that feeling open their minds up better? What do you think?
Uh, to my knowledge,
No.
I don't want to give the weightage to 100%, maybe 99% your dress code will be helpful. And that way, the person will feel comfortable in talking to you. Just because if you don't have the dress code, it is not like you are a neighbor, you will listen to them, everything. Certainly the person who is reaching to you, she will definitely know that you are a mediator.
So
And
that
though
is
you will
something.
empathize, but
Hmm.
still you will have your grounds. So there
Okay,
is no way of that.
I think there are chat boxes which say differently. Can you just have a look, myself?
Yeah.
Mediator is not a lawyer, so he is not supposed to be in black and white. Somebody, Tangachan VP thinks so.
Okay.
That's what even I feel. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Anu? I mean, Anne?
Um, so I just want to know if I've understood the question correctly. Is it when they wear a costume, like they're in the black robes, does that alter how mediation would work, how much information they
Does,
share with you? Is that
does that alter the mindset of a person who's sitting to talk about their personal issues to you? I mean, anybody, even as a property dispute or family dispute, dress code per se has a effect. I mean, in you. I'm talking about as a lawyer because I have felt that if you are able to just shred off your, self as that lawyer's demeanor and authority conversation method, if you can just change that and become a little more, approachable and one among you, then that will help the person to open up. I mean, that's what my thinking is. Srinivasan sir
Madam,
differs.
actually, no. Here, what you like Pankaj sir mentioned as a mediator is not a lawyer. I agree because when I also go for mediation, I don't have a lawyer coat to wear because I'm not a lawyer. Here, when we talk about that particular lawyer, I said the dress code is important. But here, if you are asked about a mediator, if you are in a different profession, say you are a chartered accountant doing a mediation, if you are a counseling psychologist doing a mediation, here we cannot wear that coat and that will not become mandatory. So here, what I mentioned is only about the court mediation activity, nothing else.
No, even in a court mediation, Gaurav,
No, I don't
yeah.
know. No, I am not aware of your court mediation whether you are supposed to wear or not. In case if the
No,
ah,
nothing like that.
okay,
It is anybody can, change your dress also, come in a salwar kameez and also sit. It is nothing that you have to wear the white coat. It's just that we come from after matter, so sit like that. So I am just
okay.
thinking maybe that change of costume has something to do. I think Gaurav has to say something. He said something.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add my perspective onto this based on what I have observed. So we students are sent on our own clinical internships for this course. So when I went for my first internship in the summer, what happened was, as clinical psychologists, if you go to any hospital setting, we always wear lab coats. But where I did my internship, when going back to my UG college, the clinical psychologist trainees over there did not use their lab coats over there compared to other doctors in the hospital setting. And the reason being was a very insightful reason because of the power dynamics that can influence the setting. So what happens there is because you view I'll just talk about it from this clinical context, and then slowly I'll move on to the mediation context if I can. The clinical context, because you have a person who's coming to talk about their own issues. The moment they see the lab coat, they're obviously going to think that person has more knowledge, and then immediately they would succumb to each and everything that they would say. So rather than being open and being able to talk about their own issues or whatever is bothering them, they're going to be on the toes to figure out how they can impress the doctor, or if they are some sort of self-censorship can also occur in the place. So maybe that's the reason they encourage not to use lab coats, which even like in on my on-site internship here, we were supposed to wear lab coats, but from day one till the last day I was there in October, I never wore a lab coat for the same reason, and I always used to shush it away for the authorities not to wear. But in terms of the legal context, I maybe we can. I think the discussion in the chat box is also going on in terms of the mediator being a legal representative or not. I feel that even if a lawyer can do the same, I don't know what the court mandates or what the legal regulations are for you all. So I'll just assume that maybe it is possible if you have, in such like child custody cases or any other cases, once you're in your plain clothes and as maybe they would be open because they know that it's not going to remind them of the court setting and all the 100 procedures that would go further. So at that point, they can just be themselves. Like, for example, if I saw you, I mean, I see a few pictures also of people in their legal suits and all that. But if now that I think about it, perhaps if I was talking to you, I would try to start saying, for example, okay, how do I negotiate this? Because I would have my lawyer and I was like, okay, what are the specific terms I would use? So that legal language of what was going to come out of my mouth. But rather, when I see you in plain clothes like this, I can have a normal conversation with you. So you might later on interpret your legal terms for your sort of processes or whatsoever. But I am not attuned to the same language as you are on. So because of this power difference, and I'm not talking about the clothing per se, the language is quite different. You have that sort of comfort that goes on, and you can see like, and I think because since you, for example, in a couple also, from what I think I have seen before, moment you see a lawyer or even a policeman, the couple is going to like behave differently, very modest, and try to either blame the other person or whatnot. But when you actually see that when everybody is in the same sort of setting and there is no sort of legal barriers, that's when the true selves come out. And that's where you can get more insights, I feel, compared to, a person who is sitting with your black and white robes or whatsoever in that sense, or even if at any other clinical setting or any context. So I think maybe we can, as Mr. Tankachan has said, dressing showing an authority won't create a comfortable atmosphere in a mediation room. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. The authority figure over here is going to play a huge role, because the moment we view authority in any setting, I'm sorry, I'm taking too much of time,
No, no,
but
no, 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 no,
yeah,
no. That's the whole idea.
okay, okay,
See, I just
okay.
wanted the open speech to be
Sure, sure.
first. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so as I say, I just close it off by saying, as you see an authority figure, the moment you're going to have a certain reaction and behavior. And yeah, I'll just close it on that note. I think there are a lot of comments on the chat box. I request everybody to please take a read on them and also contribute to the discussion.
So here, my comment to it is not about the dress code here speaking. If it is in that domain, if they have to, they need to wear. Otherwise, they can be in their own dress code. So while talking, we spoke about our advocate. That's the reason we spoke about the black code. So I could see Tankachan sir and Shivakumar and all also mentioning. We are not here to say to wear the code. You be in your own dress code, but if it is illegal, and that area we don't want to venture unless until we know that exactly thing.
Yes, sir. I
Otherwise,
was just
fine.
adding from a psychology
Yeah, that's
perspective.
what we
I'm
wanted to
sorry,
add because we
audience.
have
Yeah.
to all our we are sitting with the legal people. Okay, so we have to make our stand clear. Risha, now you understood? Got
Yes.
it? So you wanted to go. This is how we have to be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Sir, I
Yes,
think there's
madam.
a crucial question here. How can
Please.
mediators adapt to unexpected twists or turns in mediation? Do you have anything to contribute, sir? May I please know, ma'am?
Unexpected twists and turns definitely will happen because about the emotions, feelings, and the way they engage the
That is
period of
why we
discussion.
have psychology session today.
Definitely,
That
there will be multiple twists and multiple turns. For example, when you engage in a discussion, if some person raises a point that I wanted this type of negotiation process, I wanted this benefit, and I remember, madam, you always pick up the beautiful case study about you want orange juice or you want orange peel. So that's how there will be multiple twists and turns. And depend on that, we have to identify what is a requirement. So we sometimes used to call what is a purpose and what is a precaution. We use this terminology in some of the area. So what is the purpose of this particular argument? Or is it because of the precaution thoughts he's talking about this argument? So if you are able to deep dive into it and identify is it what purpose and what precaution, accordingly you will understand the area, what are the multiple twists is coming in. You have to navigate and take through the participants. Definitely, there will be multiple twists and turns also. Depend on the person, we have to take the route navigation properly rather than in terms of biased one. And the other way is there can be always a option. Since if you're a mediator, you can put an open-ended question and ask, what is this twist? Maybe if somebody, party A and party B is feeling, party A is raised a question, party B feels it's a twist. As a neutral mediator, you can put up a open-ended question and ask how to unclutter the question so that we will understand better. If you could put those type of open-ended questions and where the party B and party mediator is able to listen, that is one way of uncluttering or removing the twist. Yeah, Gaurav and Rishal, you can add.
Disha, you want to go first? Hello?
Sorry, my
No
my
issue.
laptop's dying, so you can continue.
Okay, so leaving aside to adding on to Sir's one, I think I'll add also like, with respect to the adaptation for the twists and turns, I feel. Now, the thing is that these, as Sir has said, these are going to be unexpected, but then there is supposed to be an aspect of reconciliation of both parties, I feel. Because unless or until both parties clearly agree, and of course, this is similar to your process also, an evaluation of the entire situation and their desires and all their party requirements on a very rational and justifiable level. These are the specifics that we have to look. And usually, like, of course, like for example, in a therapeutic technique called Socratic questioning employed in CBT, we have to ask the person why, and we get to the core belief of why they want a particular thing or what's bothering them initially. So I think if you can spend of course, this twist and turn is very crucial because it can change your judgment per se. I'm sorry, I don't know. There's a screen sharing going on. Okay. So if there is a particular, how do I say? It's a very crucial point, but at the
who's sharing?
same time,
I don't know who's sharing this. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So there's a crucial point. So I suggest that there's a devotion of proper time towards it, and avoiding a sort of minefield sort of situation. So more communication is required, and what I mean by communication in this sense is evaluation of the requirements, then sort of negotiating to come to a normal middle ground, a bit more deeper, and also trying to figure out alternatives to it, especially when it comes to a negotiation process between. I'll go to the next one, I think.
Abhinaya has got a very interesting
Yeah,
question.
there are
Can we
chances.
just answer that?
Sure, ma'am. There are chances that either of the parties may lie in order to achieve what they want. How can mediators analyze whether the facts and this is something? So as we also look at a lot of evidence, and unless or until sometimes even the so-called lie detector tests and other things, so um, those also not very accurate and reliable at times. So of course, maybe we can bring it up as long as something has been tried, tested, and has been how do I say, validly working in a particular setting. But however, um, these sort of like we have separate assessments that is only not only for screening and diagnostic tools. So maybe some, for example, a couple one where the father is a narcissist and he often is going to lie. So if we have a tool for that, maybe we can doubt. We can only show the court a particular thing that we doubt whether he's actually telling us the truth. In this case, we would need to do our evaluations and go to see if the informants are reliable and they can attest to him telling the truth or not. Now, specifically facts and circumstances, what we do mostly as clinical psychologists or in the field of clinical psychology to have another informant. But however, we will need multiple other people also coming and attesting to the facts. And the rest, in terms of the truth of it, we have to push it to the police. That's not our jurisdiction per se. I think the police will have, of course, they will use various psychological techniques and other, truth techniques, but we can't play much role in that. And I hope I answered the question. Risha and Anu, you want to contribute anything in
Yeah,
any
I
way?
want Anu. Why don't
Yeah,
you
so
tell
I
me what do
think
you think?
yeah, so just adding to that, I think in terms of psychology, the client's reality is your reality. So if your client comes to you and tells you, yeah, my husband is in the wrong, I'm in the right, you deal with that reality because for you, their perception of the issue is more important than the actual issue itself. And like Sir mentioned about thoughts and emotions, etc. But I think when it comes to legal mediation, that is a stark contrast because you need, like Gaurav mentioned, about facts and evidence. So, like he said, it is a bit outside the jurisdiction of a psychologist because it's two completely polarizing viewpoints. So that is definitely how even Risha was talking about how psychology would
Mm,
complement mediation. I think
no,
this
no,
is
but
one place where
don't you have a way to really figure out? To what extent this person is lying to you. I mean, to understand the lack of genuineness in his,
yeah, I think
story,
Gaurav
in
has
what
a
he believes.
Okay, so the story aspect of it, it's only again, as I said, needs to be confirmed. We need to listen both sides of the multiple people involved. Number one, any other witnesses as we have known specifically. Only comorbid, one of the few comorbidities I can think of at the moment on the spur of my mind is like, for example, when the person is under the influence of drugs or alcohol. That test also needs to be done because the moment they are under those influences or having any forms of psychosis, we'll also have to think that per se also. So again, it goes into a full mental status examination, which is what.
No, no, Gaurav, that's a question. That is not the essence of the question.
Yes, ma'am.
See, there is a state where uh, I completely believe what I am saying, but it cannot be the real fact.
Exactly, ma'am. That is there.
You
That's
get
what I'm.
me?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
every human being has that quality. Your fact is very different from other person's facts because you always make up a story around it to give a fact. You also believe that actually. So, how do you, as a psychologist, do you have a way to break out of that? Do you?
Uh,
I mean,
uh,
is there anything that you apply to analyze this particular or tell that first the person should believe that what he believes is wrong, then that then the transition happens from right to that belief to what is right, what is the real truth. So the distance, even in
okay.
a man's mind
Mm-hmm.
who's telling you the story, is what I think. I mean, the Abhinaya is asking a very straightforward question, but in my mind that is a challenge. Even with myself, I believe in something, and I'm complete. That's a lawyer's job. You have to believe in something, and I most of the time that need not be the right thing. But on a mediation table or a resolution table, I don't want to call it mediation in your thing because to you to become a mediator, you have to go through process. But even you also face that. Somebody comes to you with a issue. That person is not giving you the real truth.
I
So
agree
how
that.
do
I
you
agree.
help that person to?
Okay,
Uh,
sure, ma'am. Okay, I think there were many components. So I'll speak purely from like three perspectives.
mm,
One is
mm,
that the first thing, the evidence gathering that has to occur on multiple sessions, even though being a
mm,
mediator. So that's a
mm,
separate psychological evaluation that we take.
mm, mm.
And then as what technically a CP would, is there a right or wrong or real truth? I think, okay, so I'll just move, I'll come to that. But So we CPs can only, like, once we get our practice and if we're involved in the legal field, we can only attest to the person's character and see how much of the information is reliable. That's through informants on in certain criminal or civil cases. It again has to be through multiple interviews with witnesses or etc. or people who have known them on a deep note. So we have to do that evaluation to see if the person is lying or not. Now, in terms of the actual content, whether the person or how do you make them believe what they're saying is true or not, it involves rigorous questioning. And we can't impose that, okay, they are wrong. We might know for a fact that they are lying based on some sort of evidence that's come. Yeah, it's based on, sorry,
Can you mute? I mean, I'm sorry,
based
who
on,
was
no,
not
no,
talking. Can they mute?
based on any sort of evidence that has come from outside. Now, the thing is that once that happens, we again try to, there is a slight component of deception involved, I feel. But however, we can establish solely based on certain facts that we have for sure. Because there have been many times where even in our clinical settings where I've done my internship, we've also felt that the client would have develop some criminal tendencies, and we can't necessarily report to police until or unless we have solid evidence, which is what I also encountered. And mere doing of these tests also are not enough evidence to show that there is a criminal tendency. So like that. In terms of the concept of truth itself, when we want to hear, the thing is that when you say you want him to believe that perhaps he could be wrong, the problem that we face is this concept of truth itself is a sort of shared reality between people. So, for example, even if you take religion per se, I might be an agnostic, you might be a Hindu, or anybody even a Christian. So it's a shared reality that we're all living in at this moment. But at the same time, when applied to this context, the interpretation is very crucial in terms of your memory. So imagine in a legal dispute, I've got to mention this in my initial talks. The memory reconstruction of events is also quite crucial, and it's very important for witnesses also. So memory is more of a reconstruction of events rather than recalling what exactly has occurred. So that plays an important role in order to figure out how accurate is your memory based on external evidences that we ourselves go and check. So when we say objectivity over here, it's to say a multiplicity of some sort of evidence that can occur rather than just merely saying that, okay, this was there, this is what had happened, and I'm for sure saying that this is what had occurred. So I hope this answers, but this is all I can contribute. Ma'am, you're on mute, actually.
How important is the truth itself is a good question. Is can be a separate session, but because what matters to a mediator is resolving the issue more than the real, the raw truth. I mean, how much the other side is in consensus with your truth is what matters. So I think, is there right or wrong, a real truth? That question was answered, I think, by interaction with you. Srini sir, is there anything that you want to add on how they conclude? How they conclude? That's a good question to answer, Srini sir. How they conclude as to the right and wrong. I mean, how they conclude whether the person saying is right and wrong, and how much does it matter whether that person saying is right and wrong in a mediation perspective? I mean, I want you to answer that
Identifying
question.
whether it is right or wrong, it's a huge diagnostic process. Okay. And such a lengthy or a detailed diagnostic process cannot do any shortcut, because the more when we do a shortcut, you are branding somebody wrong, and that cannot happen in that short term. That's number one. Number two, as you said, one question which I saw, that how there are chances that parties may lie in order to achieve they want. How can mediators analyze whether the factors circumstances told by the parties are true? Here, as you said, you are a neutral person, you are a neighbor person, you are listening to both of them, and you know both of them are lying. If they are able to come to common conclusion, that itself is fine. You have to leave it and get away. The minute when you started pitching in, you are getting into a different pedal. When you get into a different pedal, according to the different positions, we have to adopt different methods or diagnostic tool to identify and provide a resolution. And that time you will be Like how this side people are thinking about the black coat, and that side people will think about the white coat of coming in and doing a diagnostic. So I would refrain and say, let's we stay here and you stay there, and we'll be able to facilitate you in a way. And now coming back to the last question about how emotional intelligence plays successful mediation. In say for example, the type of question here, this question itself comes with a comma mark. So the person definitely knows emotional intelligence plays a vital role in successful. So even by reading the question, we'll be able to tell that he also knows the same answer. We also know the same answer that emotional intelligence is definitely helpful in doing a successful mediation. But if you want to deep dive and break down the emotional intelligence, where how it starts and how it impacts the party A to party B, then it's again a bigger process of doing a diagnostic, and it may take another half an hour plus to get back.
I
So,
have a last but not the least. I have a very interesting question now after hearing
please.
all these psychologists. See,
Yeah.
in the process in a mediation, you
Mm.
figure out that both of them are lying,
Mm.
and there is a truth beyond both their perceptions or their angles to the story. As a
Mm.
mediator, am I supposed to disclose that to them? Should I say that I found it out?
But this is what when the minute we put the word mediator, we don't know what to tell this or not to tell this.
Will they
Some
trust
area,
me
if
after that?
required, I'll tell you. If I will tell you, if a person comes to me with husband and wife really coming for a divorce, and if I could feel like I'm not a mediator, if I feel like if I add one amount of lie, a good lie, one amount, a small ounce of good lie can make the both people join together. I don't mind telling lie. Here, the lie is not a lie. This is a bonding agent as a psychologist I'm using to make them bond. So if you put me intermediator, then again you will put me question saying this is wrong, you are not supposed to do it, you are not supposed to share. So this is what the combination. And as a psychologist, I have used many ounces of lies to bond many conflicts. Thank you.
I want Shivakumar sir to, do the vote of thanks for us, because Shivakumar sir is here today, and we are very happy to have you, sir. Can you please help us with a vote of thanks on behalf of IMO?
Thank you, Ambli. It was a great session, Srini, and especially the youngsters with young minds. We learn a lot from the thought processes they are putting in. In fact, it is a fight between the legal fraternity and the psychology fraternity. Who is going to lead and who is going to resolve this mediation successfully? That's a wonderful discussion going on. Thank you all for joining this occasion. And thanks, Ambali, for creating such a wonderful monthly webinars, month after month, with a lot of individual topics. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.